Welcome to GAC Time. We discuss all things General Hospital. So put your feet up, get your teacups, get your snacks, and let's begin. General Hospital Daily Recap for Tuesday, May 12th, 2026. Let's see what our favorite bunch of characters are up to. As Nathan and Dante were having this conversation, I realized Dante did not speak to Rocco after he was over there screaming at Lulu. I can't even believe they wrote that like that. You find out your son did some crazy stuff and you don't go talk to him. This kid devastated, everything like that, and he left that house. Okay, anyway, we'll get back to that. So Dante and Nathan were talking. Dante released all his anger out on Nathan, was telling Nathan, why you didn't tell me what my son did? He's my son and everything like that. Now, Nathan, he's a bit, fake Nathan, is a bit harsh with his words, but the stuff that he was saying was 100% correct. He was like, look, they had a split decision to get that kid out of there. Dante was acting like they should have just left him there. At first, I was just like, but that's how I felt. But he was like, we had to get him out of there. The police would come in, WSB come in, and all that kind of stuff, right? So Dante was like, well, you could have told me later. Again, this guy, you are the police commissioner, and he doesn't have a track record for, he's about this law. We know that about Dante. So, Nathan was trying to tell him, listen, I did it because, you had to cover up you had to make a decision of being a police officer or covering up for your son. So he thought he was helping. That's what he told Dante anyway. Dante didn't want to hear any of that. He's still going on for Nathan. Somewhere along the line they should have told Dante and kept their fingers crossed. I know. But, Nathan had his reasons. Dante was screaming at him. He was like, I'm his dad. I should be making these decisions. And then he was like, look, whatever goes on between you and Lulu is what goes on between you and Lulu. Do not be involved in my son's activities. So fake Nathan told Dante, listen, me and Lulu are not talking to each other anymore. She was mad because what he said. So what he said was get Rocco out of town. Dante was looking at him crazy, how Lulu's looking at him like he was crazy. And he was like, you tell my son to get out of town, all this kind of stuff like that. But he was like, if you figured this out, Cullum is going to figure this out. This is a kid. He said, they don't care if he's a kid or not. They're going to throw him in the back of a van and you ain't going to be able to see him forever, right? Wherever Jason's at, they're probably going to put him underneath that cell. So anyway, Dante want to hear this. He's just like, this is my son. Don't be telling me what to do. Nathan was like, all right, do you, right? But know that these people are gonna find out. I agree with Nathan. Some of the ways that he says things a little, brash or brush or whatever you want to call that. But Dante is being like Lulu, and I get it. No one wants to send their kids away, but they need to get a plan and quick, right? Because they not really preparing. I get it. Dante's just in the mix, and he's trying to figure stuff out. But you need to figure stuff out on the move because the clock is ticking, right? And it's getting ready to explode. Lulu called Britt over. I think she only called Britt over to yell at her because the stuff that she was saying to Britt was obvious. She was just telling Britt, like, don't tell nobody what happened and stuff like that. Britt's not telling anybody. I don't know why she's calling her over there to tell her that. Then they went on, and she was just like, Rocco has this unnatural connection to you, and it's your fault that he just happened. It's not her fault. See, yes, the whole situation, she's surrounded by nervous people. Rocco wants to be interacting with her life. He wants to be intertwined, right? He wants to know Britt. They have got to get through Rocco's head. When all this is said and done, you gotta stop being in the mix in these things, right? He's always in the mix and some stuff, but whatever, that's a side note. Um, and stop making him, if Rocco did it, it's his fault. Like they need to stop with this is this person's fault and this person's fault. You got to make him accountable for the stuff that he does. But Britt was like, look, she's not telling anybody. And then they got into the conversation about Nathan because Nathan was telling Lulu get Rocco out of there. But she was like, I didn't tell him to say that. I didn't know he was going to say that. But Britt was like, that's probably a good idea. Eventually, these people are going to find out. So Lulu starts getting ready to cry because she's like, she's missed so much of Rocco's life. It wasn't even just about this coma. She missed the first 7 months of his life. She missed being pregnant with him, all this other stuff. Britt didn't even want to hear that. She just blew that off and was just like, you're selfish. You trying to keep him around because you feel some kind of way about not, being. This is how I know Nathan and Britt are not really parents. It's not easy to send your kids anywhere and then talk about send them off, knowing that they're going through all this stuff, and then being like, okay, well, I got to stay here and I can't hug them. I can't make sure that they are right. Okay. So they a little cold with it, but I understand logically they should get him out of town. But I feel like it might be a little obvious if you get him out of town, because like, why would you get him out of town? School is still in session. It would have to be a real good excuse that he left. But overall, Britt was just kind of telling Lulu, don't be selfish. Get him out of here. He's going to crack. She was like, this kid is a ticking time bomb. It's only a matter of time. And we all know from watching Rocco all these weeks, Britt is 100% right. He getting ready to explode. And I'm just like, I don't know. That's why I can't believe Dante didn't even talk to him. Anyway, Britt left. Nate and Isaiah came up later, and Isaiah was telling Lulu that he had met with Justine, and that he was telling Justine that that he was home or whatever during the thing, but they're asking questions about that night that he came to see Rocco. And Lulu looked worried. Lulu's like, look, if you could hold her off for 5 minutes, hold her off. And he's like, but she was like, if you have to tell, I understand. She was like, go ahead and tell them where you was at. She said, but just give me a heads up so I can get prepared. So that'll be the time they get Rocco out of town. But I don't know. I feel like this is getting ready to spiral out of control, and Lulu and Dante are taking their time when they need to be taking action right now. Danny called Charlotte over and Rocco to tell him about this plan he got, how he gonna break into Windermere, and he needs their help, right? So Charlotte's on board. Charlotte like, okay, we got this. We're going in there. Rocco freaks all the way out. He just started spazzing. He was like, you don't need to go in there. Those people are dangerous and stuff like that. Danny's like, they know where my father's at. He was like, I have to go there so that they can help, so I can get help to get my father back. Rocco was just like, this is how you gonna find information in that place. Look, Rocco know because Britt been screaming at him that these people are dangerous. Danny and Charlotte are delusional, but it was funny because Rocco said, if y'all go do this, I'm going to tell. I was like, Rocco shouldn't have said nothing. He should have just went home and told. Because this is like, they being kids, obviously, but they just got caught breaking into Dalton's lab. Like, they acting like they got super spy skills. Anyway, um, Rocco was telling them that he's not going to do it, right? Danny got mad at him, and he was like, you're not going to help me with my father and the way you've been acting and all this kind of stuff. So Rocco left. He told Charlotte, let's go. Charlotte stayed, talked to Danny, and he was just like, he's still going to do it. Danny's like, he's going to break in. I hope that Rocco goes and tells, because what I see happening is them getting caught, Charlotte getting taken, and then that's how Valentine gets in the mix, right? Because they all think they know everything, and just don't do this. So I hope Rocco tells on them. Britt was 100% correct. Rocco is on the verge of cracking. Rocco was waiting for her to get back home. It was weird. On side note, I can't believe that Britt still lives there. I mean, she's been getting a few checks as a doctor. I don't know why she still lives over Carly's thing, whatever. But anyway, they went into Britt's room, and he's borderline hysterical, right? He was like, the only person he could talk to is Britt. And he was like, now he knows that his dad knows, and he was like, they're arguing over him and stuff like that. And he was just like, it's his fault. And Britt was trying to assure him it's not your fault. You're not weak. You're not this. She was going through the whole rundown, which his parents should be doing. This boy don't feel like he can go to his parents. That is wild, right? So I'm just like, how is this possible? Dante leaves that thing, did not talk to his son. Lulu over here screaming at Britt. They need to be talking to their son. We got you. Don't worry. All this kind of stuff. But he feels that the only person he got is Britt. She's the only one that can understand. That's crazy in itself. I'm not saying he couldn't go to Britt. I'm just saying, how do you not feel that your parents got your back? So anyway, we'll see what happens with this. But Britt was trying to assure him it's not his fault. Justine asked Isaiah to come over, and she started questioning him about that accent, but she was doing it in a way that I didn't like. She was trying to trick him into answering some stuff. And I was like, just tell him why he's there. They don't have no evidence on this man. They don't know if he did it or not. And I'm like, they already treating him like a criminal. So Isaiah first was answering, then he thought about it. He said, oh, I know what this is about. So he understands now that they're trying to ask him about that accident between Jordan and Curtis. So he stopped answering. He said, look, if you got something to ask me, he said, talk to my attorney, right? So Justine was like, kind of like, no, but don't you want to answer, stuff like that. He was like, no. And he didn't, they started talking about, can we get a paint sample? He was like, I'm not giving you no paint sample. And he was like, he couldn't even believe that they were asking him for this. So he left, right? So, Curtis comes in later and he asked Justine, like, what did you get? Did you, such, such, did he answer the questions? And she was like, no. And he had the right not to answer the questions, right? Because they don't have any evidence against this man. So he was like, Curtis like, well, what about the warrant? She was like, the judge wouldn't give me a warrant because there is no case, which we all been saying, right? So, Curtis is like, but he's acting like a guilty man. He came to Jordan's room and he wouldn't leave. He came to Jordan's room once, right? He was distraught because Jordan was asking him to leave, but he was a little caught off guard. He didn't, he wasn't acting like a guilty man to me. Curtis is now telling Justine, that's okay. Y'all just want to get rid of this case. I'm gonna go find evidence. I'm telling you guys, this is gonna be the start of Curtis' villain arc. I could see him faking some evidence to get this man out of Portia's life. He does not want that man near his new baby that's coming in a few weeks or a few days, because Portia said this baby coming soon. So he got to work quick. I could see Curtis doing this because he just wants this guy gone. But Justine just looked at him because Curtis left and she was just kind of like, she should know that he's using the system for his own means, that Curtis is doing this. But we'll see what happens with this. I just want this storyline to go away. So Curtis was telling Jordan that he's going over to see 88 Turner about the whole thing with Isaiah, because Isaiah's supposed to come in and see her. Jordan is like, look, I hope that they don't find any evidence against Isaiah because she likes Isaiah. Isaiah is her friend. And Curtis is like, no, he's all adamant. It's him, right? But when Jordan had made that statement about, I hope they don't find anything, Curtis' face just looked like, yeah, right. Like he hoping they find some stuff. So anyway, he said, you know what, the person like him, I don't want him anywhere near my family. That is the red flag of the century. Jordan is not hearing it. She's just thinking that Curtis is trying to find out who this other driver is. And Curtis is telling her, this person is a terrible person leaving us on the side of the road. We could have died and stuff like that. I'm like, you ain't got no information. Why they left? Did they know you were there? All this other kind of stuff. You don't even know if it's Isaiah, whatever. So I'm not gonna talk no more about that. That's what that is. He's gonna go off to see Justine. So Molly came over later to see Jordan, and Molly was just telling Jordan she apologized because she was like, after her and TJ broke up, it seemed like there was a big distance. She hasn't talked to Jordan like she used to talk to her, and she always admired Jordan and stuff like that. So, she was like, please forgive me. And Jordan was like, there's nothing to be forgiven for. I get it. They went through a lot with losing the baby and everything like that. She said for a couple to stay together during that kind of thing is almost virtually impossible. Jordan did say she's going through her own struggle right now, and she feels like, she's not the person she used to be. So Molly was like, she's here for her. If you need anything, let me know. Stuff like that. It was good that Molly stopped by to see her because just because her and TJ is not together anymore, it doesn't mean that she can't be friends with Jordan. Portia and Trina were catching up. Trina came out to the cabin. That was her first time out there to see the cabin and stuff like that. And she wanted to talk to her mother about her baby shower. And they were just catching up on random stuff. Um, Portia was congratulating Trina on her singing. She was like, I heard that you got, made possible prospects and seeing where your singing is going to go. And she's happy for her. It was funny. Portia said Trina getting ready to graduate. I guess they have been in that PCU for a minute. So it is time, almost close for them to graduate. So she was like, this is good. This is another avenue you could try out, see where you want to be at. Then they got back to the baby shower, right? And Portia was like, you know what? Because Trina was like, do you want me to invite Jordan? And she, at first, Portia was on the fence. She was like, I don't know, Jordan, this and that. She was like, what they had on happened between them before. Plus, Jordan just had this accident and stuff like that. But overall, Portia was like, yeah, you should invite her. I'm like, that's weird. To me, it's weird. You got your ex-husband with his new girlfriend that y'all just got. To me, I think it's strange. Let me know what you think down in the comment section. I don't think I would have invited Jordan, and I think Jordan would have understood that. Overall, Portia's just happy. She's like, look, at least we all in a good place. And she was telling Trina, like, everybody's getting along. Let's keep it good like that and stuff like that. Curtis is not gonna make this possible. All right, this baby getting ready to come. He's causing a rift already. He gonna put this guy Isaiah in this situation. It's terrible. I don't like that Curtis is doing that because he don't want this man around Portia and his new baby. At least he's a good man, right? He ain't some abusive, crazy person. But I don't know. Whatever. I just want that whole thing with that car accident to go away. They need to just erase that from the storyline. So, guys, what was your favorite part about this episode? What was your least favorite part? Let me know down in the comment section. We love thumbs up, we love smiley faces, and we love encouraging words. So, guys, I love to hear from you always. And don't forget to hit that bell notification and to like and subscribe because it really helps the channel. And thank you for joining us again at GHT Time. Till next time, bye.